The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Good morning, you guys. And that's right. It is Monday, July 1st, you guys.
It's Tuesday, Jason.
Oh, it's Tuesday.
But that's okay.
Oh, you know what? I messed up. Son of a
I'm going to need you to keep up with the days.
Sorry,
he's
you
so
guys.
international. He's on the other side of the date line.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry.
That would make it Wednesday, Yarrow.
Good morning, you guys. It's Tuesday, July 1st. Today is National Gingersnap Day. We kind of need Jesse today, I guess, huh?
Jesse, God damn it when you need him.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Creative Ice Cream Flavors Day.
I'm fucking here for that. Me and Boo Boo love Bacio de Latte.
Oh,
you haven't had it.
You know, I used to think just like bubblegum ice cream was a creative flavor back in the day.
The good old 2-ball screwball?
You know, the blue ice cream. The blue ice cream, that was always good. I always thought it was interesting how they made it blue.
Like you blew Papa Smurf afterwards? No big deal.
Oh man, this is one of my favorites. It's National U.S. Postage Stamp Day.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I have some cute ones. They have elves on them. I'm going to send Yarrow a letter because they remind me of.
Christian always makes jokes of how much I like to walk and drop things off in the mailbox.
Because it's funny. It's like really, it's funny.
It's very, very Americana.
You're like a little kid waiting on the Highlights magazine to come in. This one's for me.
It's also National Postal Worker Day. So make sure that you know what I'm saying, if you see your postman, you know what I'm saying, make sure you thank him for dropping off that mail, bringing you all those bills.
12 more shopping days till my birthday.
12 more shopping days till Todd's birthday, you guys. The
viewers need to know, do you prefer cashmere or silk?
No, I don't like to pigeonhole my viewers. So whatever they feel is best for me, then that.
Todd, this is a family show. Can we not talk about your pigeonhole?
So you know,
we're gonna get you a nice head wax.
I could
use one of those.
I prefer cashmere.
Yes. Anyway, it's not your birthday, Jason.
Yes. Well, then, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are kicking this thing off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served. She is the mouth with no oppression filter, the Southern Belle herself. That's right, America's sweetheart, Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Yes, I'm glad to no longer be oppressed, Jason. It's a wonderful day. You meant suppression, right?
Yeah, suppression. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. New words for Jason Beck every day. You guys tune in every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to listen to Jason Beck, learn to read and learn new words. It's a wonderful time, brought to you by Reading Rainbow. Today's episode is brought to you by the word suppression.
Words are good.
So anyway, take a look in a book. All right. So, Virginia. A new chapter in Virginia's cannabis policy begins next week when the state's freshly reformed Joint Commission to oversee the transition of the Commonwealth into a retail cannabis market meets for the first time on July 9th. The commission, established under House Joint Resolution 497 and chaired by Delegate Paul Krizik, with Senator Adam Eben as vice chair, has been tasked with gathering public input and crafting recommendations for the rollout of legal recreational marijuana sales in Virginia. Since the possession of up to 1 ounce and cultivation of up to 4 plants became legal in 2021, retail sales have been prohibited, fueling a thriving illicit market. Past attempts to launch a regulated market were twice vetoed by Governor Youngkin. Yes, I'm sure those 4 plants you can grow at home has fueled a thriving illicit market because everyone says I'm going to get rich off of 4 plants in my backyard. At next week's meeting, agenda items including the election of leadership, meeting protocols, and a roadmap for public hearings. Topics up for discussion span licensing rules, taxation, paraphernalia regulations, employment protections for adult use consumers, microbusiness eligibility, and labor protections, especially for unionization provisions. Advocates such as Marijuana Justice and Normal are expected to testify. Marijuana Justices Chelsea Higgs Wise emphasize this is a chance for public comment and expert testimony, highlighting the need to equitably center small Virginia-based businesses. Meanwhile, the Virginia Cannabis Association's president, Jason Blanchett, announced the group will sit out, focusing instead on reintroducing a previously vetoed bill. Oh, look, they don't want to talk. They got some other work to do. Somebody, finally. The commission will remain active through mid-2028, giving it time not only to architect the rules, but also potentially oversee the early stages of commercial rollout. 2028. Okay. With Governor Youngkin term limited and ineligible for re-election, the focus now shifts to the November gubernatorial race, whose outcome may ultimately determine whether regulated cannabis sales become a reality in Virginia. So I guess we'll be staying tuned to this. You guys, if you're in Virginia and you got 4 plants, please, 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 may I borrow your Ferrari?
That's funny, Jenny.
Jenny with the comedy this early in the morning, huh?
Yep, that's cute.
I don't think Youngkin is going to let anything pass or happen as far as marijuana goes. Even if the people vote for it, is notorious for going against the will of the people and shutting down all cannabis legalization. So I don't expect him to do anything really except say no.
You don't think he can evolve on this, huh, Todd?
I don't.
Interesting. I think
These people
could.
take a long time. The only way they evolve is if someone that they,
And their family. That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Unfortunately,
exactly right.
they're close
that they know.
brainwashed.
And they're indebted to big tobacco, big oil, all the big cop, cop and cops and alcohol are the two anti-pot lobbies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they give them lots of money.
You guys are just naysayers over it all today. Well, we need to hit to hold on a second. Let me try to boom.
Little reality.
There we go. Now we got everybody. One big happy family up
Was
top.
it just me?
No, Jenny Beth. It's not always about just you.
Well, fine. Lucky audience, I was going to say, but fuck you.
Wow.
Yeah, she's just on fire today.
Shots are fired.
Yeah,
Feisty.
man. But whatever.
I've been up since 5 a.m. I got some yoga in, did some meditation.
Yeah, you are screaming namaste.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's what I'm saying. Then I shotgunned 4 Diet Cokes and looked at a picture of Yarrow to channel my frustrations.
The most truthful thing you said was that you do look at pictures of me.
Oh, Yarrow, you love that, don't you?
Yarrow is like probably 10 foot tall right now.
Yarrow's so happy. Yarrow, whoever was Yarrow's date tonight, he's canceled. He has other plans. He's got to sit at home and think about some things.
No.
Are you planning on FaceTiming him, Jenny?
No.
We could double date.
We could.
Y'all come up to the wine country.
Oh, that would be lovely, actually. We both love wine.
Great. We'll tolerate you for a day or two.
Oh man, I can see this ending so many bad ways, you guys.
Can't tolerate her for an hour, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, she'll do yoga that day. I'm not worried.
Oh,
That's
boy.
my girl.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, back
So
to
anyways, Virginia,
Mhm.
you guys need to figure some things out. God, first of all, let's talk about Virginia and let's talk about traditional commerce in Virginia. And let's talk about who's going to jump into the cannabis industry in Virginia and why it's Philip Morris.
I thought it was going to be the Joneses.
No, we're just keeping up with them.
It's the Jensens, Jason, but back to words that Jason gets wrong. Go ahead, Yarrow.
No, it's the Joneses.
I agree with you. I think Big Tobacco has not been shy about their intention to capture the market, to shift away from, heat, to shift away from combusting tobacco, from heat not burn. I honestly, I didn't think I'd ever say this. I'd rather them be in regulated cannabis than be pushing these Zins on these teenagers.
Hey,
That's
I'm
fair.
not.
Crystalline nicotine is the fentanyl of tobacco.
Yeah.
That's fair. Dude, that's fair. I've watched somebody put multiple in his mouth and dude almost died. It was terrible. I'm like, why would you do that? But like when we're talking about it from a realistic standpoint, Big Tobacco has an agricultural stronghold on Virginia and always have. So why do we think that that's going to be any different when we bring in a different kind of agriculture?
Yeah, and
We
it's not
don't-
like
we
they
shouldn't.
haven't been from the outside. Not like they haven't been looking at this industry for a long period of time. So, and with their sales, I think significantly reducing over the years, they need, just like pharmaceuticals and alcohol, they need to try to get their way into this industry at some point so they can get a piece of the pie.
Well, no, they already have a piece of the pie. They already have large cultivations in California. Like they're not even from the outside looking in anymore. They've been figuring this out, and I just think that a state like Virginia, where they've thrown so many dollars into politics for so long, is definitely poised for them to take over in a large way. Is that a fish cup, Michael
No
Minardi?
doubt about that. Depends on how you spell fish.
PHISH?
It just may be, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Come on, you knew Michael was on that page.
I didn't know.
Stop it! You guys have hung out at some fish concert
know that I was
randomly
that far
at some campsite one time.
Yeah, definitely not. I don't camp out for fish. I go home. Smells funny out there.
All right, well, fair enough. We're gonna roll into our first commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Nothing
boy.
more than
Feelings, trying to forget my
You guys are really out of control today.
of love.
Oh, Jason,
feelings.
you thought you were going to steer this ship today, Jason? I woke up early.
Nothing more
Teardrops.
than
It's a shit
feelings.
show. It's a shit show.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
Dude, I've never
oh
seen
boy.
her with this much energy, honestly.
I know,
No.
dude.
Must be that yoga that gets her amped up.
Yeah,
Yes, the yoga.
yeah. It's definitely the yoga.
Yep, I hit my weight goal today.
Is that
I rode my
weights?
bike 12 miles this morning, and I'm tired.
Nice.
Hmm.
No, I just set a new goal.
Woke up. And it's noon where I am. I haven't done any
Yeah.
stuff.
Every day above ground's a good day, right?
Son of a bitch, this commercial's long.
We're already back, Jenny
No,
Beth. I've been waiting for you guys.
And coming up next, he thought he was going to steer the ship today, but I woke up extra early. The High at 9 head honcho, the smallest fry in the Republican box, Jason Beck.
Smallest fries. I don't know what the hell she's talking about.
Small fries, big opinions.
Weird.
Weird. Yeah, very weird.
Welcome to the
Very
reading
weird.
rainbow.
Well, let me tell you something, you guys, because the Texas medical marijuana industry is to push for hemp age restrictions and a Delta 8 ban, you guys. That's right. The Texas medical marijuana dispensaries entered into this year's legislative session with a two-pronged strategy to expand, to loosen the state's rules on their industry. That has made the program largely inaccessible to those who need it, and to eliminate the competition, consumable hemp, which has been allowed to proliferate in an unregulated, cannibalizing users and profits, they say. The medical marijuana industry is also known as the Compassionate Use Program, better known as the Teacup Program. Notched victories on both fronts with state lawmakers, but on the latter failed to win over the man who has the ultimate say, Governor Greg Abbott. Now that the governor has vetoed a bill that would have criminalized the sale and possession of hemp-derived THC, medical marijuana dispensaries fear they can't continue to operate if Texas doesn't agree to heavy regulations on the hemp industry, or at least give the medical program the same freedom. In a quote, "I was surprised, just extremely surprised, and borderline in disbelief when I heard about the veto," said Nico Richardson, CEO of the Texas Original, a Central Texas medical marijuana company. The expansion to medical marijuana program was meant to include hemp restrictions, he says. State lawmakers have been called back to Austin on July 21st for a special legislative session to tackle how they want to regulate the hemp industry now that a ban is off the table for now. And leaders in the medical marijuana program want the legislature and Abbott to ban a major piece of the consumable hemp industry, synthetic Delta 8 THC, and to raise the age to buy the remaining hemp products. They also want lawmakers to increase the dosage limits on medical marijuana products. And in a quote, "But it also presents a unique opportunity to go back to the drawing board, bring important stakeholders to the table, and get it right this time around," said Jervone Singletary, a spokesperson for the Austin medical marijuana company Good Blend. He also says, medical marijuana and hemp can coexist in Texas if it's done responsibly, he says. And that's why they're trying to rein in consumable hemp, because Abbott urged lawmakers in his veto to consider regulating consumable hemp similarly to alcohol by recommending barring the sale and marketing of THC products to minors, requiring testing throughout the production and manufacturing process, and allowing local governments to prohibit stores from selling THC products, and providing law enforcement with additional funding to enforce the restrictions. And medical marijuana leaders also want regulations to go a step further by banning a significant part of the smokable hemp industry. Products that contain synthetic THC known as Delta 8. The products are cheap to manufacture and have a longer shelf life because they contain a small amount of natural hemp. Delta 9 THC, like marijuana, on the other hand, is derived straight from the plant and is more time-consuming and expensive to produce since it requires a grower's expertise. In a quote, they say, "Our products are comparable in price to the Delta 9 THC products. What we can't compete with is these Delta 8 products because we can't manufacture chemicals. And frankly, we wouldn't want to because it's not responsible," Richardson said. Oh, man. The Texas Hemp Coalition, the industry's nonprofit advocacy arm that monitors market changes, supports regulations on Delta 8, and Aaron Owens, a member of the hemp industry, said he supports an outright ban because it would allow hemp growers to have more control over the market rather than laboratories. This guy does not understand economics at all, apparently, and is just a total prohibitionist, in my opinion. But he also says the number one problem in these synthetics, you take those away and 95% of the industry disappears because this stuff isn't coming from the farmer, said Owens, a hemp farmer and founder of Austin-based Tejas Tonic, a hemp beverage company, a ban on synthetics would go back to the old-fashioned hemp and cannabis way, he says. Members of the hemp industry said they would be willing to accept many of the regulations that Abbott proposed in his veto, and they would also agree with implementing an age restriction of 21 years of age to purchase THC-containing hemp products and to bar the sale within 1,000 feet of a school or a church. In a quote, I think by bringing those standards up for hemp, I think it will help us coexist, Singletary said. I want to make it really clear that we are not anti-hemp, but we do feel like the hemp industry needs to follow some really clear, defined rules. And without heavy regulation on the hemp industry, Richardson said the state's medical marijuana is doomed to fail under the burden of state regulations. Texas has one of the most strictly regulated medical marijuana programs in the country, making their products more expensive than hemp-derived THC and limited on where the medical marijuana program can reach. House Bill 46, which goes into effect September 1st, aims to loosen those reins on the medical marijuana program by allowing distributors to store their products in various satellite locations rather than requiring them to travel across the state to return the product to the original dispensary on a daily basis. It also allows patients in the program to use products like cannabis patches, lotions, and prescribed inhalers and vaping devices, and licensed dispensaries to open more satellite locations. The bill expands the number of total dispensary operators to 12, one for every public health region in the state, and an online option, but allows that number to go up to 15. And currently there are 3 medical marijuana dispensaries, with 2 of them primarily located in Central Texas, and the 3rd mostly online. Traumatic brain injury, Crohn's disease, and chronic pain were also added as qualifying conditions for the program, and however, Richardson said allowing the consumable hemp industry to continue under the status quo would render HB 46 obsolete. In a quote, he says, "You can't compete with the price of zero regulation because that is not safe," he said. If they want recreational THC, they need to have the proper systems in place first and the proper regulations, because right now this is not a safe way to sell recreational cannabis, he says. But they're trying to say that there is a road to coexisting, and we kind of go on that. And in the sake of time today, I'm going to leave all of that part out, and you can go on over to our website and read how these guys want to think that they can coexist. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I am shocked that Abbott vetoed the bill. I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know why, Todd.
Because he's such a conservative dork, you know.
Stop it, bro. He's a patriot, bro, who embraces the free market.
That the people want to do for themselves. He hates civil liberties.
Stop it.
Hates
no
people
way.
thinking for themselves. And, he goes against the will of the people consistently.
I don't believe that.
Because he knows what's best for everyone. That's why I was shocked.
All politicians know it's best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that doesn't make him any different, you know. And he's lower to the ground, so maybe he sees it a little lower at a different
He's
angle.
got a different vantage point. Not funny. Not funny.
He's looking at penises all day, so it scares him.
Oh,
Could you leave it for me to be insensitive and off-putting?
I mean, in all fairness, Yarrow is closer to his height limit.
I really enjoy being off-putting and insensitive.
So crazy, you guys. So crazy.
There's a lot to dissect with Texas, and I appreciate how when sometimes you're quoting somebody in an article, you like channel a different voice, Jason.
You like that?
Yes.
I noticed that too.
Jenny, maybe occasionally he mispronounces a word or gets the date or day wrong, but Jason's always good for channeling a voice for quotations. Thing about Texas is their medical cannabis program sucks. It's 20 years behind anything else. You know, this idea that they're increasing access to retail by taking it from 6 to 12 to 15, it's still a big insult to people who need it. And the fact that we are talking about how they're increasing the qualifying criteria for their medical program to include traumatic brain injury in 2025, like, oh, thank you. That is so forward thinking and progressive. Good job there, guys. Like, it's an insult really to medical cannabis to begin with. I believe that cannabinoids should be regulated irrespective of which plant they come from. Psychoactive cannabinoids on one side of the fence and non-psychoactive cannabinoids on the other side of the fence. We're not there yet. And Texas has quite a stake in hemp-derived products.
I thought
many
you
of
just
which are
like
being
Texas
sold
steak.
outside
Yarrow.
of Texas.
I thought you just
What's
like I thought you just like Texas steak.
No, it's brisket. I can't believe
brisket.
you could even conflate the two. Like, honestly, that's sacrilegious. The fact that you don't, Siri, send Jason a gift certificate for Southern California brisket. So there's that. But really, Texas is really, really far behind in having a medical program that actually is fair for patients. Yeah, everything. And, you know, Jesse and I were going to debate the merits of Abbott this last Monday, and I wasn't able to do that. And hopefully, Jason, we can do it.
Yeah, we can do it next
Monday.
week. We can do it next Monday.
But I think that separate from regurgitating the enthusiasm for all Republicans elected, Abbott is definitely not great. When you look at his long-standing track record, there's some pretty regressive and just ass backwards stuff that he's done. And so it's not, I don't think, a partisan shot to look at him as mids, if not worse.
I think he's a patriot.
Of course you do. What do you like about him?
know, this just continues.
What do you like about him?
Absurdity of the plant. Get over this. Got to get past this hurdle. This is a plant that everyone should be able to use. Got to get over these regulations and bring these industries together, and that's the only way we're going to get over this.
Do you really think they can really
idea.
coexist like that? Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's that. I'm not sure that's the answer.
Yeah. I think they can coexist. You may call me a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Let's regulate psychotropic versus non-psychotropic. Let's lower the taxes and regulation on the cannabis side. Let's include age gating and some
I'm fine with the
COA
age gating
requirements on the hemp side.
Mhm.
And let's let farmers farm again.
This is the thing.
I mean, hemp is just cannabis without a fence, man.
This is the thing that kills me about it is that, you know, a lot of these farmers that are farming hemp, you know, there's a big disconnect because we only have 3 manufacturing facilities that are built to actually turn hemp fibers into other different types of products, whether that be hempcrete, rope, paper, et cetera, clothing, all of that type of stuff. And so these guys, a lot of these guys think that if they get a Delta 8 ban, that these farmers are going to keep on farming hemp. And I don't believe that. I believe a lot of those farmers we would end up having to subsidize through the federal government through different farming mechanisms, because of the fact that there's not going to be anyone to buy their product anymore because of these types of bans. And so I'm not necessarily in for that type of a ban. I think it's more about public awareness and educating consumers on the difference of the products, and then that is how you phase that Delta out, not with some type of ban, because you're not going to stop the illicit market. And these people that think that just because they ban a substance all of a sudden it's going to go away just happen to live in la la land.
Problem is, you know, the religious, right doesn't want to be educated. They know
that's
already.
Not true.
They don't want to be educated. They just don't.
They just haven't had the right teacher, bro.
So real quick, you know, there's a little bit of conversation in the chat, like, what don't I like about Abbott? Let's get specific. And I would just say
I think here we go.
Abbott panders to a conservative base, suggesting policy solutions that are more about trying to make sure that his base feels that he's value aligned with them. I think any governor that suggests a ban on sex toys in their state is not focused on the most important issues for their constituents. And I invite anybody to go back and look at what he does. I mean, he's been quoted as saying under the Obama administration that what he does for a living is sues the federal government. So
I mean, they needed to be sued.
And I do think that any governor that was on the was opposing same-sex marriage is on the wrong side of history on that issue. And if you believe in civil liberties, people should be able to marry whoever they want as long as that person's over 18. So I don't think history's going to look back.
I think there's an interesting difference right there, Yarrow, because a lot of people conflate the marriage thing with allowing people to be together and whatnot. And I don't think he's against those people being together, but he happens to be a Christian and believes in the sanctity of marriage as that being a religious type of thing. And so that's why he holds that position.
What does this have to do with cannabis and the lack thereof in Texas?
Well, that's Yarrow. That's Yarrow. He always likes to.
Are we talking about hemp-derived dildos? Because if not, let's move it along.
There should be. I mean, I think that could be the new industry, and they're biodegradable. You don't have to
shove
worry
some
about
CBD in your coochie and calm down.
Easy there. Easy there.
So, I think, and this is an interesting thing, and I don't necessarily know, and the chemists I've spoken to, the synthetic aspect of the 8 as well that they continue to state. And I get it's not naturally occurring and they're doing some kind of conversion to it, but I still shy away from calling it a synthetic and that it's not fully made in a lab. It's some sort of synthesis, some sort of extract, some sort of conversion.
Yeah, it's a chemical conversion.
CBD to cannabis. So or Delta 8. So the synthetic aspect of it takes it into a whole different world here. And we've won cases in Florida where they're saying anything naturally derived in the cannabis plant can't then currently be considered synthetic. Also, like the federal case where the judge, and it was a trademark case where the judge said that Delta 8's naturally occurring in the plant. It's not synthetic. It's legal federally under the hemp bill. And they criminalizing these things in the state of Texas, again, that's federally legal, that's not a controlled substance. They're recontrolling it. They're recriminalizing it. To me, is a disgusting aspect of this bill.
Mm-hmm. You want to.
That's your patriot, Governor Abbott, working hard for you.
He is a patriot.
Sex toys, make America great again.
Oh boy, Yarrow, you're so
sex.
funny.
Come on.
You're so funny.
He also signed a bill for permitless carry, so you don't need a permit to carry a gun in Texas.
I'm all for that. Shoot 'em up, bang bang.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
well.
I'm in big favor of that. The more places that you have open carry laws, the less crime you have. I'm all for that. 2A strong all day, every day.
Yeah.
Jason, you have a question in the chat.
Oh yeah, from who?
Nick Bradley would like for you to tell him how D8 is made.
Nick Bradley can make it a super chat if he wants. If he wants any type of answers out of me, but nonetheless, we're going to keep this thing rolling. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Michael Minardi. Michael Minardi is a lawyer in the great red state of Florida. That's right, Todd's second favorite home. And of course, he has been helping patients, caregivers avoid the law and the oppression from the cannabis plant that law enforcement tries to entail out there for over 20 years at his law firm, Minardi Law. And you can find him at his law office at Minardi Law in the great state of Florida. It is none other than Mr. Michael Minardi.
Hello, everyone, and happy high noon on the East Coast. Today we are, again, our Tuesday psychedelic day, another plant that are suppressing, or are they oppressing it? I'm not quite sure after today. But we have a new study reveals how MDMA rewires serotonin and oxytocin systems in the brain. And I won't be here the rest of the week, so happy 4th of July to everyone.
Yeah.
These articles and the things that we cover and that we're doing are all about your freedom. And this, to me, is my favorite holiday of the year, honestly, the 4th of July.
Me too, bro.
Especially, it's about America. It's about freedom. And the substances that we push for are about freedom and your rights. So happy 4th.
Without a doubt.
I don't know. It is a strange holiday where we mix gunpowder, alcohol, and fire.
Well, I'll go into that after Michael's story, and I'll tell you why we do that, Todd, because you obviously need an American history lesson.
Absolute freedom. So, and MDMA is too. A new study published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology has found that MDMA's mood-enhancing effects may be partly driven by changes in brain systems related to serotonin, oxytocin, and vasopressin, neurochemical pathways that are involved in emotional and social behavior. The results support the growing interest in MDMA as a possible treatment for mental health conditions. MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy, is a synthetic stimulant with both energizing and hallucinogenic properties. In recent years, researchers have been exploring whether MDMA can be used in controlled therapeutic settings to help people with conditions like PTSD or social anxiety. Its ability to reduce fear and increase feelings of connection especially makes it promising for patients who struggle with interpersonal difficulties. However, scientists still know relatively little about how MDMA produces those effects in the brain or how these effects vary depending on dosage. To explore these questions, researchers from the Medical University of Lublin and the International Institute of Molecular and Cell Biology in Poland tested the effects of MDMA on 3-week-old zebrafish. This developmental stage is roughly equivalent to adolescence in humans and represents a time when social behaviors are emerging and brain systems involved in emotion are still developing. Zebrafish are small freshwater fish native to South Asia. They rapidly develop into early stage and share a high degree of genetic and physiological similarity with humans. This was surprising to me because their brains contain many of the same neurotransmitter systems as mammals, and their behavior can be easily observed and quantified. Zebrafish are especially valuable for studying brain development, drug effects, and psychiatric disorders. The researchers in this case were looking at how MDMA influences anxiety and sociability, and whether these effects could be linked to oxytocin, a hormone involved in social bonding and emotional regulation. They conducted several tests to assess anxiety and social behavior in zebrafish. One test measured how closely the fish stuck to the edges, behavior known as zygomytaxis, which is often used as an indicator of anxiety in animals. Another test evaluated how much time the fish spent in light versus dark areas. Especially zebrafish tend to avoid dark areas because they feel unsafe. Finally, a social preference test measured whether the fish more likely to spend time near familial co-specifics or members of their species. They were divided into groups and exposed to various concentrations of MDMA. They were also treated with either oxytocin receptor agonist, which mimics the effects of oxytocin, or an antagonist, which blocks those effects for comparisons. Some fish were given diazepam, a known anxiety medication. After behavioral testing, the researchers examined the expression of several genes in fish's brains, looking at those related to serotonin signaling, oxytocin, and vasopressin. They also analyzed how MDMA affected specific intercellular pathways involved in mood and behavior, such as AKT and ERK half signaling. Found that MDMA had dose-dependent effect on anxiety. Very low doses, it appeared to increase anxiety-like behavior. But at moderate doses, particularly 2.5 micromolar MDMA, reduced signs of anxiety. Fish at this dose spent more time in the center of the new environment and were quicker to explore dark areas. Both behaviors associated with lower anxiety. However, at higher doses, MDMA began to reduce locomotion and so signs of possible toxicity, suggesting that the therapeutic range is narrow. In terms of social behavior, the lowest dose of MDMA increased the time fish spent near their peers, suggesting enhanced sociability. Interestingly, this prosocial effect was most noticeable at doses that increased anxiety, indicating a complex relationship between emotional and social responses. The oxytocin receptor agonist also promoted social interaction and showed anti-anxiety effects, but only under certain conditions. In contrast, the antagonist had no noticeable effect on behavior, which may indicate that they blocked the system was not enough on its own to alter emotional or social responses in zebrafish. MDMA exposure led to reduced expression of genes involved in serotonin signaling, including two types of serotonin receptors and serotonin transporters. These changes may reflect the compound's action on serotonin release, which is known to be one of MDMA's main effects in the brain. MDMA increased the expression of genes for receptors and reduced the expression of vasopressin receptor genes. While it did not appear to increase actual oxytocin levels in the brain, the changes in receptor expression suggest that it may make brain regions more sensitive to oxytocin effects. The researchers also found that different doses affected specific signaling pathways in the brain. At the lowest rate, it reduced activation of the AKT pathway, which has been linked to social behavior in other animals. The agonist, on the other hand, increased activity in the ERK half pathway, which is known to involved in anxiety regulation. These findings suggest that different aspects of MDMA's effects, influence on anxiety versus social behavior, may be driven by distinct biological mechanisms. Future research could, these findings by examining how MDMA affects brain circuits. Research suggests that genetic tools such as CRISPR could be used to further investigate the roles of specific receptors in mediating MDMA's effects. a scientist work towards better treatments for conditions like social anxiety and PTSD. Studies like this one offer window into how compounds like MDA could be not just used as recreational drugs, but tools as healing. So, in a Freedom Month, in a Freedom Week, this is great. It continues to expand our understanding of how these chemicals work in the brain. As something that we already know. As we know, I think MDMA was originally used in counseling therapy to bring couples together. So I think this as well continues to support the need to use MDMA and other substances in treatment for veterans, PTSD, and anyone else there is fucked up because of COVID.
Yeah. Nice, Michael. Very, very, very nice. You guys can transition. Yeah. There we go. Very, very nice. Oh, go ahead, please, Yarrow.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot to unpack here. I mean, first of all, they are dosing 3-week-old zebrafish. Like, talk about not age gating the drugs. Like, that's pretty intense. And they're not talking about the known negative side effect of MDMA, which is a love of techno. So I don't understand. They're measuring the anxiety behavior of the zebrafish. But what about all the proliferation of techno? That's not even a good genre of electronic dance music. So there's that to unpack. I'd like to be in that lab one day and watch these zebrafish high as fuck swimming around, and how these scientists in white jackets are able to extrapolate behavioral data from that. I mean, to me, that sounds like something I would like to sit back, smoke, and enjoy watching.
I would just imagine having a little rave in your fish tank, Yarrow, at the house. Yeah, like
a little black light.
Yeah,
little glow stick show.
Yep. Get a little salt water
filter of the
water. Exactly. Get some of those like highlighter color fish that like glow in the dark. You know what I mean? That would be awesome.
Poor little 3-week-old zebrafish. They just want their mommy.
Yeah, they're literally rolling, man.
They are adolescents at that age, so
yeah. They're of age.
I'm pretty darn sure the age of consent for zebrafish is more than 3 weeks old.
Yeah. What were you saying, Todd?
Oh, I was just saying, how do we know that 3 weeks is adolescence? Zebrafish, how long do they live? 6 weeks?
I mean,
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I've known people that have had them in their little tanks for way longer than that.
How long?
Well, that's
how
in
long,
captivity.
Right. Well, I think it's a very interesting either way. If they can use it to see how the brain waves work, like they have in these other studies on psychedelics, and the proof now that it rewires brain waves and how our neurons work and stuff. I think it's interesting, and it continues to push this envelope that these substances have to be used, for these things. And this kind of confirms, I think, what most people who've used MDMA kind of feel themselves when they use it. So. Mm-hmm. They're definitely more likely to go into the light or into the darkness and, experience new people and touchy-feely maybe.
A little, you know what I'm saying? A little rubby-tuggy, you know what I mean?
Jason.
What?
Come on.
What, Jenny?
Got weird all of a sudden.
I don't know what you do at raves, but all right.
It's like a one big lotion party, Jenny Beth.
Oh, like a Diddy party.
No, not like a Diddy party, bro. Sorry, bro. Sorry. We check IDs over the parties I go to. Yeah.
You get in.
How do I get in? What do you mean? I passed the height limit.
Oh. God.
Yeah. Okay. How do you get in?
Exactly.
He stands on top of Yarrow's shoulders, and they have a trench coat.
A big trench coat, right?
They get in.
You know, Todd. I am of a particular age, Todd. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty up there now.
I know that you're old. I know that you're old, but you're awfully little.
Oh boy. Oh man.
But you're also little. He said it so nicely. Just a little fella.
I like this story. I definitely think, because the people that created this and how they created it, you guys should check out this book, Phikal, Phikal. And I believe if I'm correct, they actually lived up there near you, Yarrow, up there in Sonoma, where they actually created MDMA and first founded in the first place.
No comment.
No comment. All right, fair enough. Well, we'll get out of the woods on that one, and we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we'll be right back.
Right, the balls are on your chin.
Oh, and whoa, and we're back. Stop whatever you're doing. Jeez Louise, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all the articles that we cover on today's show, you'll be able to read on our website just shortly following today's live broadcast. And make sure you go into the link below. Check out all of the sponsors that help make this show possible on a regular basis. And make sure you use the link to order yourself a case of Liberal Tears energy beverages. The perfect beverage for the 4th of July. Celebrate your patriotism with a case of Liberal Tears today. 150 milligrams of caffeine in every can, 0 grams of sugar, and Todd, I promise that no snowflakes were harmed in the making of this product.
Where do you get the tears from if nobody was harmed? Weren't they crying?
The liberals cry just for anything, which whenever Trump talks, he cries.
The control tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The control tower from Highly Educated.
What's happening here?
Oh yes, and we are back. We're back, Todd. What do you mean? What do you mean? What's happening here? You okay?
No, I didn't know what just happened.
We're back. We are back, and we are going to roll into you, Todd, the golden voice himself.
Oh, hey.
Todd is also a creative storyteller, a Telly Award-winning director and producer with over 35 years of extensive experience in television and film production. He's been a featured expert on various cannabis panels, TV shows, and news programs throughout the years, and has been interviewed and quoted in numerous blogs, newspapers, and magazines, and co-authored the book, Money Matey. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Todd Denkin.
And the crowd goes wild. Thank you, Jason.
Yes.
Thank you, fellow cannabis colleagues. My story is covered here on 9 News last week, so it's kind of an update as to Mike Tyson's quest, as Iron Mike Tyson tells Trump to reschedule marijuana and free prisoners in a Fox Entertainment appearance.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Retired boxer Mike Tyson has delivered his message to reschedule and ultimately legalize marijuana to President Donald Trump on one of his most watched TV networks, Fox Entertainment. Days after leading a letter alongside other professional athletes and celebrities promoting cannabis reform that was sent to Trump on Friday, Tyson joined Fox and Friends on Monday, where he made the case for rescheduling marijuana, expanding clemency, and allowing licensed cannabis businesses to access the banking system. Cannabis is in the same category as heroin. How do you categorize that with heroin, he said. Anybody that ever smoked cannabis knows there's no comparison. That's just ridiculous, Tyson added. He reiterated his support for moving marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substance Act, a reform that was initiated under the Biden administration, that's installed at the Drug Enforcement Administration. He also stressed the economic opportunity of changing federal marijuana laws for state licensed businesses. There's over 500,000 people that can't get loans in the cannabis business alone, and that's just so ridiculous. Tyson, who owns the marijuana company Tyson 2.0, said, "It's such a great income for this country, and I just can't see it. It's ridiculous." He added that advocates are also working on clemency because there's people that are still in prison, been there for 15 years, got enormous amount of time, and ridiculous sentences just for cannabis, he said. Tyson also argued that, quote, "First mistake that we're making is categorizing marijuana as a drug. It is not a drug. It's a medicine." He said his personal experience with cannabis is a testament to that, pointing out that he was going crazy as a young adult before he started consuming marijuana for its therapeutic benefits. As whether he feels the plant should be fully legalized nationwide, Tyson said, quote, 100% yes. In large part because the time and the sentences that people criminalized over cannabis have received are just totally ridiculous. He really likes that word, ridiculous. Boxer cited the criminal justice reform advocate and former federal cannabis prisoner Weldon Angelos. As an example, Angelos helped organize the letter to Trump, who pardoned him for a cannabis-related offense during his first term. Tyson, along with acting U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, Alina Habba, also recently toured a Drug Enforcement Administration lab. During his Fox Entertainment interview, he echoed points from that tour, asserting that illicit operators from China and Mexico are filling our cannabis with fentanyl and pesticides and all that stuff, and it's just killing human beings. He said. Throughout the talk, Tyson stressed that he feels cannabis is not a drug. No one's ever overdosed from cannabis, he said. People drink. How many people die from drinking? Put a bunch of people that don't like each other in a room and give them alcohol, and they kill each other. Give them some cannabis, and they start taking selfies or whatever. Quote. The interview comes about a week after Trump's first pick Attorney General in the current administration, former Representative Matt Gaetz, and Gates, also known as the rapist in Florida.
Oh, stop it. There's no proof of that.
Support for rescheduling cannabis, suggesting in an interview with a Florida Republican lawmaker that the GOP could win more of the youth vote by embracing marijuana reform. That's what he wants, a youth vote.
Oh.
He likes them young.
Whoa, easy there.
On marijuana rescheduling, the president did endorse a policy change on the campaign trail. He's been publicly silent on the issue since taking office. Whatever his name is, said that last month that Trump's endorsement of a Schedule III reclassification is essentially an attempt to shore up support among young voters rather than a science reflection of his personal views about cannabis. Shocking. A survey conducted by a GOP pollster affiliated with Trump was released in April found that a majority of Republicans back a variety of cannabis reforms, including rescheduling. Notably, they're even more supportive of allowing states to legalize marijuana without federal interference compared to the average voter. Meanwhile, Trump picked former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi to run the DOJ. Big mistake. And the Senate confirmed that choice. During her confirmation hearings, Bondi declined to say how she planned to navigate key marijuana policy issues, as well as answer any questions asked of her. And as state attorney general, she opposed efforts to legalize medical cannabis. Adding to the uncertainty around the fate of the rescheduling proposal, Trump's nominee to lead the DEA, Terrence Cole, has previously voiced concerns about the dangers of marijuana and linked its use to higher suicide risk among the youth. How to protect the kids. During an in-person hearing before the Judiciary Committee in April, Cole said examining the rescheduling proposal will be, quote, one of my first priorities, unquote. He was confirmed for the role, saying, quote, it's time to move forward. Called progress again, without clarifying what the end result he would like to see. EA recently notified an agency judge that the proceedings are still on hold with no future actions currently scheduled. Matter sat without action before an acting administrator, Derek Maltz, who has called cannabis a gateway drug and linked its use to psychosis. Maltz has since left the position. Amid the stalled marijuana rescheduling process that carried over from last presidential administration, congressional researchers recently reiterated that lawmakers enact the reform themselves with greater speed, flexibility, if they so choose, potentially avoiding judicial challenges. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and do you think Iron Mike will move the needle with the orange clown? I think Trump is conflicted because on one hand, he loves celebrities who acknowledge him, and on the other hand, he hates black people.
Oh, so, stop it. That's ridiculous.
Sure, he's completely conflicted.
That's totally ridiculous.
I think it'll be more of the status quo.
First of all, Trump doesn't hate black people.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Christ, with this fucking absolutely inflammatory.
Went to him in the 70s, Central Park 5 in the 80s. Obama's not born in America in the 90s.
Was Obama born in America?
Obama was not born in America.
I don't know. Is Hawaii in America?
No, he was not born in Hawaii. He was born in Kenya.
Yeah, listen, facts are different.
Yeah, that's why there's so many white people around, and that's why he's erasing black history.
No, he's
not. That's why we can't teach it in school anymore.
Stop
right?
it.
And he's taking all of those forts, the Marine forts, right back to the Confederate days. 'Cause
Can you douse
that's
Todd
really
with liberal
not
tears on holy
anti-
water?
Yeah, I'm
Or-
gonna have to send a case of liberal tears over to Todd's house and have him get some. Yeah, we're gonna have to
funny
red
thing
pill
is,
him.
you guys think that-
You say he doesn't dislike
Jason,
black people.
I'm glad that Todd's wearing
Obama was
his
born in
shirt on because
Kenya.
they
He's
extract
a
liberal tears from him.
proven racist.
More importantly,
Wait.
about the story, and he's your president, whether you like it or not. The majority of the United States voted for him, so I guess it's time to
3
just hang that
times.
up and stop crying for
3
the
times.
next however long. But
Still, I can criticize his dumb mistakes and his dumb policies, and the
yes,
fact that
we'll
he's a fucking racist
focus on
and
policy issues,
misogynist.
specifically relating to the story. Otherwise, we're pandering. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, look, we kind of talked about this the other day. We touched on it. I think that anybody who has any kind of public platform who stands behind this movement has an absolute duty to stand up for it and to speak truth to power where they can. So, I mean, shout out to Mike. I think this is the right thing to do. And I think that that is the most important part of the story is, you know, if you guys have a platform that is large enough, you should fucking try. Now going to the small platform, Yarrow, you look like you have something to say.
I can't believe that Jason said that Obama was born in Africa because
He was.
You know, the government actually has his birth certificate on the internet.
If you
and it
actually,
does say Hawaii.
if you actually do some research, the hospital that it says that Obama was born at wasn't even there when the time when he was born. So there's a lot of you know what I'm saying.
Lingering government conspiracy.
That's not a government conspiracy. That's not a government conspiracy. That's not a government conspiracy.
On their website. It's called WhiteHouseArchives.gov.
Yarrow, I want to hear what you have to say about Iron Mike talking to the boss.
Okay, so let me talk about Iron Mike for a second.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time not liking him because of his past
That's
choices.
right.
I think Mike is doing actually a commendable job leveraging his celebrity status and the visibility that he can bring to things in this pursuit. I have nothing negative to say about what he's saying, and Weldon is brilliant and a tireless advocate. I've had conversations with the guy, and I think he's a true warrior for social justice. And for Mike to be affiliated with somebody who has really, I believe, dedicated their life post-release to making the world a better place for other cannabis, inmates. I got no complaints about this. I think it's noble, and maybe they get Trump's attention, maybe they don't. But I think it's a shot they're choosing to take, and I'm not mad at the way that they're trying to leverage their visibility to create additional visibility for the issue, and maybe get Trump to pay attention to it enough to create some broader systemic changes. I think it's really actually good news, and I think Mike is really valuing his celebrity status to try to bring attention. I just think it's very commendable.
100%, I agree. It is totally commendable.
Look at that! Look at that!
I mean, he's an advocate here in Nevada all the time. He's always in Vegas doing events.
He lives there,
showing up at. No, I know.
Yeah,
and he's got a farm very close by.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for.
What's that, Michael?
He's got a psychedelic line too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he loves the mushrooms.
And I think Mike is rewriting his legacy by doing good deeds and continuing to create new chapters in the totality of, you know, what will be thought about when he's no longer alive. And we do have a country that is based on redemption and paying our price to society, and this is good stuff for him, and it's good stuff to be talking about and covering here on the show.
Yes,
I'm mad at it.
Yeah, I love the story. I'm really glad that he got an appearance on Fox to and personally addressed the greatest president in American history to let him know what he needs to do. And I'm all for this.
You weren't taught American history in school.
Oh, I was taught American history in school for sure, without a doubt. You
taught about the slaves, or was that taken out of your school before?
No, I was taught about the slaves too, but Trump wasn't part of the slave trade. So I'm not sure where you're going with all that.
I bet his dad was.
Oh God, here we go.
Realistically, I think, and the more avenues that people will attack or go to Trump and ask him for this, that support him, and then hopefully by Tyson doing this, other celebrities that, you know, he is close to will come out and do the same thing.
Yep.
So again, and maybe with the Gates thing that we spoke about yesterday, even if he's getting paid to do it, if he is in his ear, all these different avenues, you know, I think Trump is not one to really give a shit about what people think about him, and will do it if he feels like it's the right thing. The problem is, you know, he's pretty much, according to everything he says, he's a sober guy.
Yeah.
He's not really into any of this stuff. But he is into freedom and helping people.
He is into freedom, and at the same time, Michael, he did vote yes on Florida's adult use initiative in your home state. So, and he came out in a post announcing that he was supporting that because of the injustices. No, because of the injustices that has happened on minority communities, Todd. But nonetheless, and just for you, Yarrow, to you, Yarrow, before we go into our next commercial, our final commercial, Hawaii Sustainable says in the chat, in quotes, Hawaii official who confirmed Obama's birth certificate dies in crash. CNN. And on that, we're going to our next commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Oh, yes, and we're back. And what about the ALOs? You know what I mean?
I like it. I like it like that.
It's very comfortable clothing.
All right. Let's keep this shit show pushing along, all right? His birth certificate says California, but let's be real, we all know he was born in Middle Earth. The angriest elf on the high at 9 shelf, making moves in real estate and keeping hobbits off his lawn, Yarrow Kubrin.
Oh, man. I'm not mad at that intro. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, other High at 9 news pundits and cohorts here for tolerating me yet again. Tuesday, July 1st. Kicking off the 10 a.m. hour here, pack time. My article, California State Fair Cannabis Awards reveals 2025 medalists. This is from the Marijuana Herald by Anthony Martinelli. California's mainstream cannabis competition has announced the 2025 medalists for the state's top cannabis products. Judges for the California State Fair Cannabis Awards handed out 150 medals across 9 categories and newly expanded 50 subcategories, including indoor, outdoor, mixed light flowers, pre-rolls, concentrates, cartridges, edibles, beverages, wellness products, and new additions, including blunts, hash, and chocolates. For an emerging industry that feels like the Wild West days, these awards are a bright spot to celebrate California's cannabis heritage and history, said Lauren Carpenter, CEO and co-founder of cannabis retailer Embark and co-producer of the State Fair's special exhibition. When you see small legacy farms or family-owned brands standing next to their Golden Bear trophy, knowing their product will be sold alongside the state's best wines and cheeses, that's the moment you realize we've actually done it. We've moved from the margins to the mainstream, and we're recognizing the world's highest quality cannabis as a vital agricultural product that it's always been. For 171 years, California State Fair has awarded farmers from California's traditional agricultural industries for their best-in-class bounty. Since 2022, cannabis has taken its rightful place among those and the state's celebrated artisan agricultural products, joining wine, cheese, olive oils as one of the top-ranking crops by value. This competition represents the highest level of cannabis evaluation in the country, said James Litz, co-producer of the Educational Cannabis Experience and Awards competition. When you see cannabis winning awards alongside California's finest wines and produce, you're seeing an industry that's earned its place through excellence, not just acceptance. The winners represent the absolute best cannabis products in California has to offer, judged by the same standards we would apply to any other world-class agricultural competition. This year's entries underwent rigorous evaluation through a 2-tier judging process. All flower submissions were tested through respected cannabis laboratory SC Labs for scientific quality assessments, while a distinguished panel of judges evaluated all entries using Buddhist's standardized 100-point sommelier level evaluation scale to objectively assess attributes such as aroma, flavor, appearance, and effect. Being recognized by the state fair feels like coming full circle, said Joyce from Sonoma Hill Farms in Petaluma, Sonoma County, close to Sebastopol. We're cultivating OCal certified cannabis with the same care and craft that Sonoma has brought to world-class wine for generations, rooted in respect for the land and attention to every detail. This year, winning for the 3 different cannabinoids, THC, CBD, and CBG, makes recognition even more meaningful. It highlights our dedication to sustainable practices and our belief that cannabis deserves the same reverence as any other agricultural crop grown on our farm. Love that quote from Joyce. Love Joyce. We are honored to be a small, multi-generational organic farm and service to the evolution of cannabis and humanity in this beautiful earth, said Joseph Haggard of Emerald Spirit Botanicals in Willits, Mendocino. It's a sacred joy to share our Sun Earth certified flowers and wellness products, which showcase the unique terpene profiles and cannabinoid ratios that nature provides. Gold medal winners are now vying for the 9 coveted Best of California Golden Bear trophies, which have quickly become the cannabis industry's equivalent to the Michelin Guide for cannabis products. With more than 600 entries in 2025, a significant increase from previous years, the California State Fair Awards has firmly established itself as the largest and most prestigious sanctioned cannabis competition in the world. Building on last year's success, the 2025 Cannabis Exhibition has expanded into an even more immersive experience with additional competition categories and enhanced on-site cannabis sales and consumption hosted by Embark. This allows fairgoers to experience award-winning products from many of California's finest brands in a safe and educational environment focused on responsible and conscious consumption. The 9 Golden Bear trophies will be announced on July 12th at an Oscar-style award ceremony celebrating cannabis industry leaders. So, I'm biased. That's why I covered this. And I'm really excited about anything that highlights what I would consider to be California's, dare I say, dominance and rich cannabis history. For those that can make it to the award ceremony, it's pretty cool to go to a state fair, be able to buy a pre-roll, sit in a consumption area, and then when your appetite starts getting triggered, you go outside that area and get a funnel cake or any of the other things that people do at fairs. So this is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I'd like to hear what the other guests think.
This is so these are all the people that could possibly win. These are all like everyone that has qualified to be able to receive a Golden Bear. Am I correct on that, Yarrow?
No, they've all already won.
They've already won.
Out of the many winners in many categories, there will be a few that get the Golden Bear. But anybody who's already won, who's gotten a gold, silver, bronze, that's a big deal. And the number of entrants or submissions, the more people submit, the harder it is to win. It's pretty exciting because last year with the award winners, especially in the flower category, I went through and I kept track. I made my own little matrix. Which ones were from the Emerald Triangle? Which ones were Emerald Triangle adjacent? And it was pretty clear to me that when it came to awards, no disrespect to you guys, but NorCal had a very pronounced place, whether it was Trinity, Mendocino, Humboldt, Sonoma, even Lake County. NorCal was crushing it. So I invite people to attend. It's going to be a really fun event.
Well, there is a small possibility that that High at 9 News may possibly be up there for this event. We are trying to work on some things with them to possibly be up there maybe a day or two during the event. So we'll keep you posted, and we do want to encourage everyone to make sure that they are able to attend the California State Fair in Sacramento, California this year, and make sure that you check out the cannabis area, the cannabis village. Is that what they call it, the cannabis village?
I don't know what they call it, right? I was only recently taken off the shelf for covering this article. What I do know is that last year there was tens of thousands of square feet that included an exhibit that included the history of cannabis in California, things about Brownie Mary, things about Dennis Perrone, winding way through the botanical aspects of science, the history of advocacy, and then there were displays of the award-winning flower and a real big, cool sort of display. And then there was a dispensary And then there was an area where they did these awards. And I believe, don't quote me on this, I don't want to be fact checked in the chat, not anymore. But I believe they've doubled or more the size of this area at the state fair to now include a consumption area for the public. And again, this award ceremony is going to be a lot of fun. California doesn't have a lot of fun in its cannabis industry right now. And so this is, I think, something that's worth attending. It's nice to enjoy and soak in those positive moments, those upbeats, the celebration of people, many of whom have been doing it for a really long time. And it's also nice that it supports those businesses because those winners are being carried in the Abarc stores. And they get some prestige out of it. So it's not a hollow victory lap as they circle the drain of this dumpster fire of a state and the current regs and tax increases. It's really a chance to celebrate people who have put a ton of their blood, sweat, and tears into creating cannabis products that clearly are well above many of the other products that are being produced in other regions.
Yarrow, do you know you know what they should call the entrance way to the consumption lounge? They should call it the age gate.
Sure, I'm not mad at that.
That's what they should call it. They should call it the age gate into the consumption lounge.
And this part, at least the dispensary and consumption lounge are definitely age gated. I'm not sure if the display is.
I don't think the displays are. I think those are kind of like open to the public for general, agricultural, educational purposes and whatnot. That was my understanding of how it was set up originally.
It was quite an impressive display. I mean, this wasn't something that somebody slapped up with a few posters and a couple printings run off at Kinko's. This was a very, I think, respectable presentation of the history of cannabis in California. I think everybody deserves to make the Mecca to the state capital, go there, enjoy, celebrate what's worth being celebrated.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts from any of you guys before we roll into our final story?
I don't know. Yarrow, are you judging?
I am. That's why I said I was biased.
Excellent.
When I say I am, I did. So I judged this year. I judged last year. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. And
you get really high? Oh, you were judging? Really high?
Well, actually, we had many weeks in which to judge, and so I was able to space out, no pun intended, my judging, and to be able to really let each product stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah, just a quick comment. It's great to see freedom out there. It's great to see, a place to be able to do that. I always like to, when I go to events around the country, talk to the cops, get their position on it and just see, how do you feel like about this compared to an alcohol event? And the response is always pretty much the same. Wow, it's so much easier. It's so much nicer. The people are so much easier to get along with. So great to see it out there. I hope to be able to attend at some point in time. And, congratulations to Cali for letting the freedom in the market flourish.
Yes. This is one shining light that is happening in California. I will say that is for sure. And shout out to Embark and all the other sponsors of the California State Fair in regards within the cannabis space. And hopefully we get to make it up there to check it out. And we'll see. Maybe we'll see you up there, Yarrow.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
To see you up there. That would be a lot of fun. The award ceremony is a lot of pomp and circumstance. I believe there's a green carpet, kind of a red carpet.
However,
it's worth attending, I believe. And again, it's super biased, obviously, but sharing that bias with our viewers today.
I love a good, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have any
good fixed election,
if you don't have any bias, how are you supposed to buy anything, Todd? Just saying. Well, in our final story of the day, I think you're going to like this, and thank you, Michael, for finding this, because this I thought was pretty good, and we're going to end on a trippy note. We've been trying to find stories, positive stories, to end the day on, and maybe you guys will think this is positive, maybe you won't, but we'll see, because RFK Jr. is bringing psychedelics to the Republican Party. Todd's going to flip his noodle right now, driven by a desire to help ex-service members with mental mental illness. GOP lawmakers led a failed campaign last year to persuade President Biden, Sleepy Joe's administration to approve psychedelic drugs. Now they may have found the ally they need in President Donald J. Trump's Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a longtime believer in the psychedelics' potential to help people with illnesses like post-traumatic stress disorder and depression, despite the lack of supportive evidence, Biden officials found. Kennedy is ramping up government-run clinical studies and telling the disappointed lawmakers that doctors will be prescribing the drugs soon. In a quote, "These are the people who badly need some kind of therapy," noting...
These are the people that need some kind of therapy.
No, stop it. These are the people who badly need some kind of therapy. Nothing else is working for them, Kennedy said in a House hearing on Tuesday. This line of therapeutics has tremendous advantage if given in a clinical setting, and we are working very hard to make sure that happens within 12 months, he says. The GOP's embrace of psychedelics is another and perhaps one of the more jarring examples of cultural transformation that Trump's populist politics have brought to the stage. Veterans seeking cures for mental illnesses associated with combat, and combined with the Kennedy-backed Make America Healthy Again, the MAHA movement's enthusiasm for natural medicine, have strengthened a libertarian strain on the right in favor of drug experimentation. Meanwhile, the left, where hippies and were given way to technocrats, has become more skeptical. When Joe Biden was president, for example, agencies studied the drug's medical potentials, but an air of doubt prevailed. The head of the National Institute of Drug Abuse, Nora Volkow, compared the hype for psychedelics as a cure for mental illnesses to belief in fairy tales in Senate testimonies last year. Then in August, the Food and Drug Administration rejected drug makers Lykos Therapeutics' application to offer ecstasy alongside therapy as a treatment for PTSD, and FDA advisors worried the company's researchers were more evangelicist than scientists, and determined that they'd failed to prove their regimen was either safe or effective. But Republicans, they complain the loudest, you guys, and the greasiest, the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, because in a quote, "These technocrats think they know better," Texas GOP Representative Dan Crenshaw, a former Navy SEAL who lost an eye in Afghanistan, wrote on X after FDA advisors recommended Lykos application to be rejected. Their job is to say no and support the status quo. But Crenshaw, who's helped secure funding for psychedelic research at the Defense Department, got the response he wanted from Kennedy at Tuesday's budget hearing. Kennedy said results from the early government studies at the Department of Veterans Affairs and FDA were very, very, very encouraging, he said. And he added that his FDA commissioner, Markey, sees in the same way. In a quote, he says, "Marty has told me that we don't want to wait 2 years to get this done," he said. Crenshaw was pleased and says, "I've spent years supporting clinical trials to study the use of psychedelics to treat PTSD, he told Politico. "It's been a long fight, and it's taken a lot of grit, and I'm grateful Secretary Kennedy is taking this seriously, helping to mainstream what could be a groundbreaking shift in mental health," he says. Kennedy's commitments have revived hope among psychedelics advocates that the Lykos decision was more of a hiccup than a death knell, and in a quote says, "It's important for the entire community and the entire value chain around psychedelic therapy to hear that he wants to responsibly explore the benefits and risks of these therapies," said Dr. Sharif Alithanol, a health official at the VA under Biden who sees promise in the drugs. But the VA under Trump's secretary, Mr. Doug Collins, a good friend of mine, is working directly with the Kennedy administration on clinical research. And Collins has referenced psychedelics on a podcast appearance on X and at a cabinet meeting this spring when Trump pressed him on what he's been doing to drive down the high suicide rate among veterans. In a quote, he says, "I talk with Collins about it all the time," Kennedy said Tuesday. "It's something that both of us are deeply interested in." And the psychedelics, they're spreading in red states because earlier this month, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott, Todd's favorite governor in America, signed a law to put $50 million into clinical trials of the psychedelic ibogaine as a mental health treatment. That's a story we covered here on High at 9 News. In a quote, the culture shift is underway. W. Brian Hubbard, who spearheaded the Texas bill and is executive director of the American Ibogaine Initiative, told Politico. As Hubbard sees it, the narrative around psychedelics has evolved from counterculture recreation to a promising medical treatment for the deaths of despair from alcohol and drug overdoses and suicides the United States has grappled with in recent decades. And Kennedy was happy to see it, and in a quote says, "It's super positive. It is really notable that the Republicans have become the party of some of these issues, and you wouldn't have expected before." Kayleigh Means, a top Kennedy advisor, told Politico, and an additional quote says, "States pushing the envelope is certainly aligned with what Secretary Kennedy is trying to do, and it gives him leverage to push for bolder reforms," she says. The Texas effort involved a 6-month sprint by Hubbard and former GOP Governor Rick Perry to convince state lawmakers to pass the bill, and Representative Morgan Luttrell, another Lone Star Republican, who credits ibogaine he took in Mexico with helping him overcome trauma he incurred during the military service, has also lobbied for it. And this story goes on and on to go kind of into the whole ibogaine thing, and we've covered all of this, and it looks like the Republicans are leading the way in psychedelic reform, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
It's got to be because they're all fucked up and they all need therapy. So,
Stop it.
Want to legalize what it is that they need.
Stop it, Todd. It's because we love our veterans, bro. We love our veterans, and we wanted to get them the help that they need.
And just to be clear,
is that why all of the VA jobs were cut out? And
yeah, because they were useless jobs that weren't doing anything.
Veterans.
Those are all paper pushers.
Our homeless veterans.
What are you saying, Michael?
anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You like the ones that weren't.
Hold on, Todd. Let Michael speak, please.
Sorry, Mike.
The Republican mind of reason. You know, people use psychedelics both to heal and to evolve. So, you know, the Republicans are just on that path. And, you know, it's just backwards that these situations are just going, you know, totally opposite with freedom. Now the Dems have to kind of be against it because the Republicans are for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just continues to show it's the hugest problem with our political process. But, you know, this is great news that they continue to expand this, and hopefully this pushes. These are natural plants that have to come back to our mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, they have to be used. And this is renewing all the studies that showed this stuff in the 70s. And then all these psychologists and psychiatrists who were using it back then were shut off to stop the hippies and the movements of peace and freedom and weed, right? All
Mm-hmm.
together. And we're finally coming around in a medical sense. So I think it's awesome.
Yes, I totally agree.
Wasn't
Todd,
it Nixon that wanted to arrest anti-war hippies and black people?
yeah, Nixon's not a good example
direct.
of progression on this level. I agree with you, Todd. A lot of things that Nixon did was totally terrible, and so you know what I mean. But we're not talking about Nixon. We're talking about JFK.
Yeah. So look,
Talking about JFK? John?
RFK, but
RFK, sorry, RFK.
Don't
You know,
wanna be
we
FKs.
talked about this whole
FKs.
thing that I mispronounced things. Okay, it's just, you know, just you got to give me some slack, bro. I'm disabled. Easy there.
Slack coming up.
Mm-hmm.
so this is look. I don't think we can. I think this guy's relatively dangerous. I think the worms probably took out some of the
Stop it.
parts of his brain.
Stop
I think on some things he's not bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is an example of he's not bad. I think
Mm-hmm.
on some of the vaccine stuff, I think he's potentially taking us backwards. I question his innate qualifications for the office, because I'd like to see people who went through medical school in his role. But if at the end of the day we measure outcomes, and if federal research for plant medicine treatment modalities increases, whether it's psilocybin or cannabis, then I would rather measure the net effect, not whether worm brain got it right on something. And so I think that this is not bad. And and you know what Mr. Minardi said is also, I think, really important politically. Like if the Democrats choose to push back on something that's actually progressive, that could help people, that could advance science, merely to be in opposition of the other party, they're going to look really, really stupider than usual, because they'll be putting politics above patient outcomes. And so on this one, yeah, RFK, great, good job. Should he be in that role? Probably not. Law degree, not the same as medicine. And that gravelly voice is just super off-putting to me. But on this one, it's hard to say there's anything wrong with it.
All right, look at that.
Yeah, just quick, and as far as the doctor thing goes versus someone who's on the outside in the legal field and stuff like that, I think it's a very interesting aspect because realistically, unfortunately, my feeling on most doctors is they're so brainwashed, they can't get their heads out of their ass. They can't make any decisions on their own. They know A plus B equals C. So no matter what, someone comes in there and they're paid and get so much money from the pharmaceutical companies that they just shove shit down the throat that they're being told to do so. And it causes a lot of problems. So I like the outside person in this situation that has a different aspect on it, that is through legal issues and stuff like that, has seen all the problems that these vaccines and stuff cause that are hidden from us in many ways. So I agree, like the medical aspect of it, and I think it's needed. But I think in some ways, this aspect where we are now in history, we need to take back our health more than anything. I think he's making the right, at least steps, sort of reflect and go back and say, hey, let's take a step back and let's look at our vaccines. Let's get away all these, preventing from suing these companies and stuff, and really focus on people's health as opposed to people's prescriptions, people's pockets from pills.
If I may,
please go ahead.
I agree with 90% of what you said, but for characterizing this person as an outsider. When we talk about the ruling elite or draining the swamp, if you don't think the Kennedys are insiders, we have real problems about what the definitions are. This is somebody who's never struggled to pay a bill, and this is somebody whose qualifications are primarily outside of medicine. So if we were bringing in a true disruptor, it wouldn't be a Kennedy. And so there is this celebration of Trump as shaking things up and not doing business as usual in government. A Kennedy is business as usual. He may be an outsider, but what troubles me the most about Kennedy is not some of the decisions he's made to date in this new administration. It's the fact that he whored himself out to either party to try to get a job and went around basically groveling. And so for me, if you believe in something, then you stand for something. And if you stand for something, you're probably not going to be like a little lapdog humping the leg of both parties to try to get a job in exchange for an endorsement. And I think that said a lot about him. And I worry that lack of intestinal fortitude might affect some of the important public health decisions he makes in the future.
Well, I think that's your opinion and you're fully entitled to it, Yarrow. I don't know if you realize this, but RFK actually met Trump in Tennessee at the Bitcoin conference, and they sat down and had a very good conversation. And it's possible to, not be so blindsided like Todd or yourself, and say that, hey, maybe the guy on the other side I don't disagree with fully policy-wise. Maybe there are some things, and maybe we can come together despite some of our differences for the greater good of the American people.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
except for the blindsided.
I meant outsider, like
that.
The groveling.
And the groveling. President Trump, he's going to be the man because he's going to give me a job. So I'm going to drop out of the race.
Wait, go for it, Michael.
Yeah, I would say my outsider was not in the medical field, not the politics. Obviously, he's a life politician. I think, the one thing that he didn't do was he didn't change his values or beliefs or morals when he was pitching to both parties. And I think it may have originally should have been a Democratic issue that he was embracing, that they were like, no, we got Kamala the crazy, and turned around. And Trump was, willing to talk about it, willing to open it, and willing to embrace this wildly radical policy from Republicans otherwise. So, I think at least as far as Kennedy, he has stood on his morals, and he has continued to
promote
the same issue related to this. Most politicians don't, but
you have no decorum. Michael was speaking.
Oh boy,
you interrupt all the time.
I know.
Working on it
all the time.
I'm working
Too,
on it.
All need
I'm
to get
working on it.
together and do some psychedelics, I think.
Well, that sounds great.
Oh man, this was great, you guys. This was great. Shout out to RFK and the whole Maha movement, because we do want to make America healthy
To the War
overall.
Mafia.
Yeah, you're so funny, Yarrow. You're so funny. Oh man, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution, Tested, and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai out there in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
Peace.
We run the outro now, Kai.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
extra
was
red
fun, y'all.
tag.
All right, you guys.